Okay, imagine this. A really respected spiritual teacher, right? Hundreds of followers around him, totally devoted.
Uh-huh. Sounds like a typical scene.
Except then he suddenly gets properly upset and just dismisses them all, tells them to leave.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not so typical. That sounds like the start of something dramatic.
Exactly. And it kind of is. Welcome to our new deep dive. Today we're looking at the Cātumasuttaṃ.
Right. An ancient text, but honestly, it feels incredibly relevant. It's not just history. It opens up these timeless human dynamics.
Yeah, totally. So our mission today is really to unpack this specific story. Like what actually caused that dismissal?
And who stepped in? Because someone did intervene.
Right.
And how did they pull it off?
Right. And then what can we all learn from this, this surprising event about the challenges of sticking to any kind of disciplined path?
It's a great story. You've got celestial beings showing up, some really sharp insights into leadership,
Yeah.
and these 4 powerful metaphors for the kinds of things that can trip anyone up when they're trying something new or trying to stay committed. Pitfalls, basically.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's dive in. Where does the story kick off?
So the setting is the Amalaka forest in a place called Cātuma. The Blessed One, the Bhagava, is staying there.
Got it. And then these monks arrive.
Yeah, 500 of them, including some really big names, Sāriputta and Mahāmoggallāna. They're arriving to see him.
500 monks, you'd think, quiet reverence maybe.
You would think. But no, the text actually says they were ukasara mahasada, loud and noisy.
Loud and noisy. What were they doing?
Well, greeting the monks already there, sorting out their places to stay, putting away their robes and bowls, but apparently making a real racket doing it.
Not exactly subtle.
Not at all. And the Bhagava hears this. He turns to Ananda, his attendant.
And asks?
Yes, who are these loud, noisy ones? And then he says something quite sharp.
Yeah.
Fishermen gutting fish, I imagine.
Wow. Fishermen. That's pretty cutting. What does Ananda say?
Ananda clarifies. No, Venerable Sir, it's the 500 monks who've come to see you.
So the reaction tells us a lot about expectations, doesn't it? Like, decorum and quiet focus were clearly valued.
Absolutely. And the Bhagava's response is immediate. No hesitation. He addresses the monks directly.
And just tells them,
Go, monks. I dismiss you. You may not stay near me. Just like that.
no warning, no keep it down, just out.
Out. And to their credit, the monks obey. They gather their things and they leave the forest.
It really underscores that the rules, the principles, apply to everyone, even senior figures.
Precisely. So now you have these 500 monks, including Sāriputta and Mahāmoggallāna, basically exiled from his presence.
But the story doesn't end there, right? You mentioned intervention.
Right. This is where it gets really interesting. The local Sakyans, these are like the community leaders, influential lay people from Cātuma. They're having a meeting.
Okay.
And they see the monks leaving. They ask, where are you going?
And the monks explain they've been dismissed.
Exactly. The Sakyans tell them, wait here a moment. And they decide to go and plead the monks' case with the Bhagava.
That takes some courage, doesn't it, to challenge his decision?
It does. And their argument is very specific. They don't just say, please let them back.
What's their angle?
They focus on the newcomers. They say they're concerned about the new, recently ordained monks, the ones recently come to this dharma and discipline.
Ah, the vulnerable ones.
Exactly. They argue that if these new monks can't see the Bhagava, can't get his teaching, they might drift away, they might go astray or change. It's an appeal focused on the future of the community.
That's smart. And they use analogies too, didn't you say?
Yes, 2 really vivid ones. First, they say, just as, Venerable Sir, young seedlings not obtaining water might wither or change.
Okay, yeah, I can picture that. Very fragile.
And then they add, so too, Venerable Sir, young calves not seeing their mothers might wither or change.
Seedlings and calves. It really paints a picture of dependence and need for guidance.
It absolutely does. They're basically saying these new monks need the Bhagava's presence like young plants need water or young animals need their mothers. They ask him to welcome the community like he did before.
So it's an appeal to his compassion, his role as a nurturer. How does he react to that?
Well, before we even get his reaction, something else happens, something quite extraordinary.
Oh, what's that?
Brahmā Sahampati appears, a celestial being, a deity.
Whoa, okay. Like out of nowhere.
The text says he appears as fast as a strong man extending or contracting his arm. So instantly.
Yeah.
And he understands what the Bhagava is thinking.
And what does the celestial being do? Does he have a different argument?
No, that was amazing. He repeats the exact same arguments the Sakyans just used.
Seriously, including the analogies.
Word for word. The seedlings needing water the calves needing their mothers. He reinforces the Sakyan's plea completely, emphasizing the risk to the new practitioners.
So it's like divine backup for the local leader's request.
Pretty much. And the text says it worked. Both the Sakyans and Brahmā Sahampati managed to appease the Bhagava using these analogies.
So the seedlings and calves did the trick.
Seems so. Moggallāna then goes and tells the other monks, okay, you can come back now, the Bhagava has been appeased.
And they return, quietly this time, I hope.
Yes, they return and sit down quietly. But the incident isn't quite over. There's a kind of post-mortem.
Ah, the leadership lessons part.
Exactly. The Bhagava turns to Sāriputta, one of the most senior monks.
Right.
And he asks him, so Sāriputta, when I dismissed the community, what were you thinking?
Okay, interesting question. What did Sāriputta say?
Sāriputta says he thought, well, the Bhagava probably wants some peace and quiet now. He'll live without worry, devoted to present moment happiness.
Okay.
And Sāriputta adds he thought that they, the monks, would also just live simply like that, focused on their own present moment happiness.
How did the Bhagava take that?
Not well. He rebukes Sāriputta quite sharply. Do not have such a thought again.
Ouch. So what was wrong with Sāriputta's thinking there? It sounds kind of monk-like, focusing on happiness.
It seems the issue was the lack of consideration for the community, for the collective responsibility. He's too individualistic. Like, oh, well, teacher wants quiet time, we'll just focus on ourselves.
Ah, I see. It wasn't about abandoning the group.
Exactly. Leadership, even spiritual leadership, isn't just about your own peace. It's about guiding and caring for the whole group, especially the newcomers represented by those seedlings and calves.
Okay, that makes sense. Then he asks Moggallāna the same question.
Yes. Moggallāna, what did you think when I dismissed everyone?
And Moggallāna's answer.
Moggallāna starts similarly. He says he thought the Bhagava would live without worry, devoted to present moment happiness. But, he adds, I thought that he and Sāriputta would manage the community of monks.
Oh, that's different. He saw a leadership gap and thought about filling it.
Precisely. And the Bhagava praises this response. He says, good, Moggallāna, good. For I, or Sāriputta and Moggallāna, would manage the community of monks.
So Moggallāna got it right. He understood the shared responsibility, the need for leadership continuity.
Exactly. He didn't just think about personal ease. He thought about the practical needs of the community. It's a key distinction.
Fascinating. Okay, so after all that drama, the dismissal, the intervention, the leadership talk, where does the sutta go next?
It shifts. The Bhagava uses this whole event as a springboard for a broader teaching. He warns the monks about 4 dangers they should expect.
4 dangers?
Yeah, 4 dangers, specifically when you go forth from home to homelessness, like becoming a monk, entering this kind of disciplined path. And he uses a metaphor.
What's the metaphor?
Descending into water, like navigating treacherous waters. These are the 4 big risks you face in that water.
Ooh, okay, like underwater hazards. What's the first one?
The first is umibhaya, the danger of waves.
Waves. What does that represent?
It represents anger and despair. The scenario given is a new monk being instructed by others, maybe on how to walk mindfully or how to wear his robes correctly.
Right, getting feedback, basically.
Exactly. But instead of taking it well, he gets resentful. He thinks, hang on, back when I was a householder, I used to tell people what to do. Now these guys, young enough to be my kids, are correcting me.
Ah, the ego flares up.
Big time. And that feeling, that wave of anger and resentment makes him want to quit. He abandons the training.
That feels so universal, that resistance to being a beginner again or taking direction when you feel you already know things.
It really is. It's that internal wave of frustration washing you off course. Happens in new jobs, learning new skills, anything where your previous status feels challenged.
Okay, so waves are anger and despair born from ego. What's the second danger?
The second is kumpilohaya, the danger of crocodiles, or maybe sea monsters.
Crocodiles. That sounds serious. What does that stand for?
This one is identified as gluttony, or more specifically, avariciousness about eating, greed related to food and sensual comforts.
How does that play out in the sutta's example?
The scenario is a monk being told, according to the monastic rules, what he can eat, when he can eat, maybe what he can't eat.
Right. The discipline around food.
And he rebels against it. He thinks, back home I ate whatever I wanted whenever I wanted. Delicious food, too. Now these rules are stopping me from enjoying the nice things people offer.
The craving for comfort and indulgence.
Exactly. That desire for immediate gratification, that attachment to the pleasure of eating without restriction, leads him to abandon the discipline.
It's the crocodile of wanting things now, the easy way, isn't it? Resisting sacrifice.
That's a good way to put it. It drags you back to old habits, away from the commitment you made. Again, very relatable beyond just food. Could be any comfort you're unwilling to regulate for a bigger goal.
Okay, waves of anger, crocodiles of gluttony. What's danger number 3?
Number 3 is avayapaya, the danger of whirlpools.
Whirlpools. Sounds like getting sucked in.
Precisely. This danger is identified as the 5 sense pleasures.
Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch. The allure of the world.
Exactly. The scenario involves a monk going out for alms, collecting food. And he sees ordinary householders enjoying life. Nice sights, music, good food, comfortable living.
And he gets tempted.
Yeah. He starts thinking about his old life, maybe the wealth he had, the pleasures he enjoyed. He thinks, maybe I could go back. I could enjoy wealth and do good deeds as a householder.
The pull of the familiar, maybe easier life.
Right. That longing for sensory gratification, for the comforts and stimulations of the lay world, acts like a whirlpool, pulling him away from his chosen path, causing him to disrobe and go back.
It's the distraction, the allure of everything you gave up, constantly pulling at your focus.
Yes, it's a powerful force, that constant draw of worldly attractions. Okay, that brings us to the 4th danger.
What's the last one?
Susukapaya, the danger of sharks or perils.
Sharks. Okay, waves, crocodiles, whirlpools, now sharks. This water sounds dangerous.
It represents the path's challenges. And this one, Susukapaya, is specifically identified in this context as women, females.
Okay. How's that explained?
It's framed specifically in terms of lust and lack of mindfulness. The scenario describes a monk who isn't guarding his senses. He's unmindful. He sees a woman who is improperly dressed or draped.
Right.
And seeing her, because his senses are unrestrained, his mind gets defiled by lust. This leads him to abandon his training, presumably to pursue that desire.
So the shark here is uncontrolled desire, specifically sexual desire in this monastic context, derailing the commitment to restraint.
Exactly. It's presented as a potent danger that can suddenly attack and pull someone off the path if they're not vigilant, not mindful.
It's interesting how these are framed. Waves, crocodiles, whirlpools, sharks. Very visceral metaphors.
They really are. And what's key, I think, is their universal relevance, even though they're described for monks leaving home.
They feel like things anyone could face, right? When you try to change a habit, learn something new, commit to anything difficult.
Absolutely. They're timeless metaphors for very common human challenges. Internal resistance, like the waves of anger.
Yeah, or the pull of immediate comfort, the crocodiles of indulgence.
Or getting distracted by worldly things, the whirlpools.
And being blindsided by strong desires you haven't learned to manage, the sharks.
They really map onto the struggles of discipline and self-control that we all face in different ways.
So we've really journeyed through quite a narrative here from the Cātumasuttaṃ. Started with that shocking dismissal.
Yeah, the noisy monks getting kicked out.
Then the intervention by the Sakyans and even Brahmā Sahampati with those brilliant analogies.
The seedlings and the calves, yeah. Powerful stuff.
Followed by that insight into leadership, the difference between just wanting personal peace versus taking responsibility for the group.
Right, Sāriputta versus Mahāmoggallāna's thinking.
And then wrapped up with this really practical, metaphorical teaching on the 4 dangers, the waves, crocodiles, whirlpools, and sharks waiting for anyone trying to navigate the waters of a disciplined path.
It's a rich text.
Yeah.
And I think this deep dive really shows how these ancient stories aren't just museum pieces. They speak to our own experiences, the challenges of growth, of trying to master ourselves.
Definitely. The struggles feel very real, very human. These dangers aren't just for monks thousands of years ago. You can probably see echoes of them in your own life, right?
For sure. Think about any time you've tried to stick to something new. A diet, an exercise plan, learning an instrument, a savings goal.
Yeah, those waves of this is too hard or I resent being told what to do.
Or the crocodiles of just one won't hurt, that immediate gratification.
Or the whirlpools of seeing what others have, what you're missing out on.
And maybe those unexpected sharks of strong emotions or desires that seem to come out of nowhere and test your resolve.
It gives you a framework for understanding those moments of struggle, maybe.
I think so.
Sure.
Recognizing them might be the first step in navigating them.
So as a final thought for you, as you go about your own deep dives, maybe into learning something new or starting a new habit or any kind of personal discipline.
Consider these 4 dangers from the Sutta. Which one feels like it might be your biggest hurdle? Which wave or crocodile or whirlpool or shark is most likely to pull you off course.
And just thinking about that, understanding its nature based on these metaphors, how might that awareness actually help you stay afloat? Something to ponder.